Did you know there's a gaming expo? Well, I reported on it and my story seems to have pissed some people off. So here's what happened. A couple of weeks ago, I went to the Australasian Gaming Expo at the ICC Sydney. And I published this video, which go and check out because the better that it does, the funnier that this whole thing is. A couple of days after posting, I received a letter from one of the people involved in organising the conference, which said that my story was full of misrepresentations, misinformation, and incorrect facts. The TLDR is that someone who works for the gambling industry is calling me unethical for reporting on gambling. So, what did I do that was so bad? Well, the first thing I apparently did wrong was record a salesman showcasing a machine to a crowd of people. I actually even blurred this vision mainly because some platforms will immediately suppress a video if it has gaming content. The letter said that this was a recording of a private conversation, but this wasn't the case. The vendor was addressing a small crowd at a public event. You'll notice a theme as we continue, but they also accused me of misrepresentation and gross errors because I described it as a pokie convention. It pointed out that there were plenty of exhibitors there that weren't selling gaming machines, and that is correct. Maybe they would have liked me to spend more time on the robot waiters or the AI facial recognition security systems, but since it was a gaming expo, I'm not going to apologise for my focus on the games. And just quickly, here's a map of the convention. Have a guess what these largest stalls were for. So they also had a whinge that I didn't get in touch with the convention organisers for a little PR spin before I posted my story. But here's the thing about all this. I literally signed up as a member of the media on their website, told them who I was and the company that I work for, and they approved my entry for free. They even gave me this cool little lanyard. Honestly, it was surprising to receive the letter at all because, not gonna lie, I really held back to just observations of the event and the basic mechanics of how the gameplay operates. I barely touched on the broader social issues related to gambling in Australia. But now that we're here, I suppose I could have mentioned how the gameplay mechanics I saw on display at the event are specifically designed to keep gamblers playing longer and losing more money. To give you an idea, I heard salesmen talking about features within features and making sure the punter understands what they're chasing. Now, I could have quoted gambling researchers who document how these design elements increase addiction potential. And I also didn't mention how regular pokies players can lose $400 per month, or that players can lose over $1,500 in a single hour on high-intensity machines. Are you keeping up? Because I also could have talked about how Australians lose more to gambling per capita than any other country in the world, and how at least 10 of the $13 billion that Aussies lose to pokies each year comes from exceeding recommended risk limits. And let's remember that 46% of gamblers are classified as being at some risk of gambling harm. Instead, I just focused on what I saw, an industry showcasing machines and sales techniques to potential buyers. So when these folks accuse me of violating ethical and journalistic standards, what I hear is, please stop showing people how this industry actually works. Still, I would like to say thanks for one piece of feedback because my story did actually contain one misrepresentation, misinformation, or incorrect fact. As the letter from the Gaming Expo pointed out, in my video I did make the mistake of calling the venue, ICC Sydney, the Sydney Convention Centre. Now this venue was called the Sydney Convention Centre for about 25 years and a lot of people still use the old name out of habit, but that doesn't excuse my error. I've issued a correction and I am deeply sorry for this grave factual error. Everything else still stands.